Hi everyone, and welcome to Meet the Graduate, where we talk to real graduates about their life and career after university. Today we're joined by Morgan. Hi Morgan, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. To talk
Good.
about her journey post-graduation and her experiences in PR and finding an industry that suits her. So before we get into the more juicy things, Morgan, could you please tell me what you studied at university, when you graduated, and what you do now?
Sure. I did classical studies at Manchester University and I graduated last summer, so 2019. And now I work for a PR agency doing tech PR.
So cool, but so different to your actual degrees. That's super interesting. So let's go back in time a little bit and talk a bit about what you thought about your career whilst you're studying. So what were your career expectations before graduating, and how did you kind of see your career progressing?
So my degree was pretty open-ended. I was fortunate enough that I chose to do a degree that I was just really interested in, not necessarily looking to go into classics or anything to do with history after uni. But I knew that I definitely wanted to go straight into work. I didn't want to take another year out because I had a year out before I went to Manchester. So yeah, my expectations weren't very high. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'd done a few internships at some other places and worked at a different types of places before I went to uni. And so I had a feel for work, but I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. So yeah, I was just happy to graduate and to get a 2-1. And yeah, I was excited, but didn't really have any plans.
Yeah, like so many graduates, you kind of are just working so hard to get through your degree, you don't really have time to think about your career so much.
Exactly.
So what was the reality of job hunting after you graduated, and how did you actually end up finding the job that you're currently in?
So I left uni and like I said, I knew that I wanted to go into work straight away. I wanted to get a job. I wanted to start earning as soon as I could so I could move back to London. And at first I thought I was really keen into working for a charity because I'd done some work for a mental health charity before and I loved it. So I just signed up to every kind of job website that there was, like Guardian Jobs, was like bookmarked on my phone. And I spent the best part of a month every day just writing applications, personal statements over and over again, but with no luck really. And then I was still kind of searching for everything. I was like, maybe I'll just have to work in a pub for a bit before I go into office work. And then one of my friends just called me out of the blue and was like, oh, another one of my friends from uni is now a recruiter and he's recruiting people to work in PR. And he asked me if I knew anyone and I thought you'd be really good. So I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. And then ended up chatting to this recruiter, my friend's friend, and he hooked me up with 3 different job interviews, and it was a super easy process. He was very friendly, and to be honest, it just took the pressure off because when you're job searching alone, you're like, it's so overwhelming. There's so many options. You don't really have a routine or like a set idea of what you need to do or how many you should apply for before waiting to hear back. It was just a complete waiting game. So getting a recruiter was so good, and obviously I wouldn't have got the job that I'm in now if I hadn't been linked up with that recruiter. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I think it's a path into a career or into your first job that people don't really think about too much, but that's also super important, and also kind of making or taking advantage of your own network and your friends and your peers as well.
Completely.
I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about your kind of your first interviews maybe, or your first experience of actually, once you got the recruiter who was kind of helping you to find roles that might be suited to you, how you actually found applying for those roles and interviewing for them?
Yeah, okay. So it was an interesting experience. Where do I begin? So he was super friendly and he was a great recruiter, and he got me interviews for 3 different jobs. So the first one, I was super nervous. It was like the first proper job interview that I'd ever had. I knew a bit about PR. I'd grown up like around my dad who worked in PR, but I didn't really know that much about it, and there's a lot of misconceptions about PR. There's a lot unknown, and it was a bit overwhelming. So I stayed up. I found I got this interview, and I stayed up like all night trying to learn everything about this company, about their website, about their clients, the type of PR they were doing. And obviously there's just so much like language that because you're not in the world, you don't in the PR world, you have no idea what they're talking about. So I was reading all this stuff about B2B and like comms, and I was just like, oh my God, this is not for me. But you've got to do it. You've got to do it. And I went for this job interview, and it was so strange. It was just bizarre. We just met in a prep, and they wouldn't tell me anything about their company. It was all very secretive, but basically I left it feeling like I'm never going to do a job interview as hard as that. So it was terrifying, but it set me up. It really set me up. And so I ended up having another interview for another company as well, kind of at the same time. I was interviewing for them both at the same time. And yeah, I mean, both horribly overwhelming, but amazing, because you learn so much and you kind of force yourself into a situation where you have to kind of fight for yourself and show, this is why you want to hire me. Even though I don't really know anything about this, I'm really willing to learn. Which I think so many employers are looking for like grad level. Like they just want someone with confidence and who's able to learn rather than knowing everything about the sector. So yeah, I had those 2 different job interviews, didn't get one of them, and then the other one I was just like, I can't go back there. They were too scary. I just got bad vibes. I was like, I can't do it. And that was so like privileged of me to say, because I still really needed a job, but I was just like, that's not right. And if I'm getting more interviews, like another one will come along.
Yes.
It's okay. So then I was actually feeling really disheartened about not getting the other one. And then I got a call from my recruiter the next day being like, oh, there's this random one for the tech team in this big PR agency. They've had a look at your CV. Do you want to go and have a chat with them? And obviously I was like, nothing can be worse than what I've already gone through. Like, it'll be fine. I need this job. So I went, and they were so lovely, and the team was amazing, and they just wanted to know about me. I was really frank, and I was like, look, I'm really interested in this. I can be confident. I love to learn, but I don't really know all the ins and outs of PR.
Yeah.
And they were like, of course you don't. You just come out of uni. They're really accommodating, basically. And then had to do a short test for them. And then I got the job the next day. So it worked out well. And however much I moan about the interviews, like it was an amazing learning experience, putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, there's so much important stuff you've just said in that answer. I think a lot of it relates to, being yourself. And I think a lot of graduates, when they come out of uni, especially if they don't have any formal professional experience, can kind of feel like, not that they don't have anything to offer, but that they should just take any job that comes their way.
Yeah, completely.
But it's really important to be picky, like you were, and because if you find somewhere that also matches you, you're going to have a way better experience and be way better at your job. And I also think it's super interesting what you said about not pretending that you knew everything about PR, because it's one of those industries that can be quite difficult to read about. I wonder if you could tell me a bit about your first experience when you actually got the job, and how you found kind of adjusting to the working world, especially in an industry like PR where it's pretty hard to kind of understand everything everyone's even talking about, let alone be good at your job and make progress.
Yeah, completely. I mean, similar story really. I started, and then for the first week and a half, 2 weeks, I didn't have a clue what was going on. And I felt really young there, even though my team is really young, and now I'm like, I get on with them all really well and they're great. But at the time it was so overwhelming. Going into a working environment after being in education like my whole life, even though I've worked jobs and I've had multiple jobs in the year before uni. It was just, yeah, it was totally different, and it was scary. It was really scary, but it was fine. It was fine, and I think the whole job was about learning quickly on your feet, just being receptive, being open to learning new things, and asking so many questions.
Yeah.
Like in the first weeks, everyone kept talking about this thing. They kept saying, "Oh yeah, this byline." And I was just looking around, just like, what is a byline? And I remember trying to Google it. I was like trying to Google like, what is a byline PR, like PR SOS help. And then I finally just asked one of my managers, please can you just explain what this is? And they were like, oh, thank you so much for asking. Like, so many people just try and pretend that they know what it is. And I was like, yeah, I've been pretending for 2 weeks. But yeah, I think the key, if I was gonna give any advice to anyone, it would just be to ask as many questions as you can, not be afraid to ask questions. You're not expected to know everything. And if you go into a group of people that are used to working in a certain way and with certain terminology, of course they're going to be saying stuff you don't know. They probably had to ask what it was when they first started too. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that not everyone no one just runs into a job and knows exactly what's going on. So
exactly,
it's fine to not know things, and it's fine to ask questions. So now you've been working for a little while. I wonder if you could talk a bit about how your perceptions of PR have maybe changed, and what you know, or how you feel about the industry now compared to how you felt about it when you were applying for jobs.
So obviously, well, hopefully now I know a lot more than I did before. How long have I been working there now? What is it, July? So like 9 months I've been working there now, and a bit less than 9 months. But so I work for a really big agency, and so within that agency there are loads of different sectors, and I'm working on the tech team, which is I think one of the biggest teams that we have. Within that tech team, we've got different branches. So you've got media relations, talking to journalists day to day on behalf of your client, getting comments out from people who work at the agency that you're working for your clients, getting comments out by them into the papers, speaking with journalists, etc. You've got that. Then you've got content creation, which is writing articles on behalf of other clients. And yeah, I mean, there's so much. There's a data section where they're just looking over all of the stats to do with media recently and everything. So when I first got there, it felt very overwhelming. But now the place I work at is so great. They've kind of allow you to take your own path and to choose what areas interest you, what bits you enjoy. So I'm doing quite a bit of content creation, but also a lot of media work, which I really enjoy. And I think that's super, super fortunate. I think there's a bit of not a stigma, but like I think people are a bit they question the thought of going into like a big agency because they think it's really corporate. But I think it does give you the ability to explore different routes and to like branch out and try new things, especially if it's the first time you're working in that kind of job. But now, yeah, PR is great. It's not like a simple 9-to-5 job. I mean, no job is simple, but you do work longer hours. You do have to work super hard.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have to not get sick of kind of sending the same journalist 25 emails in a row just so they reply. So yeah, it's good. It's hard work, but it's challenging, and I wouldn't want to be in a job that doesn't challenge me.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think it's quite interesting hearing you talk about PR, because it's one of those industries that doesn't necessarily have a degree path into it. So it can be quite hard to actually know what it's like to work there and what kind of skills you actually need, because there's no direct path into an industry like PR and loads of other industries. I don't know if you've thought about this. I might be putting you on the spot a little bit, but I wonder if you had any idea of any skills, or any of maybe 2 or 3 main skills that you think are needed for working in PR, and maybe some that you've developed whilst working there, or some that you thought that were good that you had before that you kind of developed or improved upon whilst working in PR.
Okay, so I've already said this one, but confidence. Even if you're quietly confident, even it doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert. I just think you need to be sure of yourself, and you need to be able to, you have to come up with something and you have to prove that it's good. Like you have to fight your corner. Not that people question you, but you have to be able to stick up for yourself. So I think confidence. I think one that I've learned and that I'm still learning is attention to detail. So in any job at the moment, I would say you're always going to have to do spreadsheets, and you're always going to have to do a bit of data and formatting. Formatting will be the death of me. But I think doing annoying things like that for me, like data isn't interesting. I don't like having to format loads of things, but having to really hone in on my attention to detail has been great. I mean, it's hard work, but it's been great, and you do need that. And then one more, so confidence, attention to detail. And I mean, you do have to be somewhat creative. There's potential that your client brings you a story that you don't necessarily think is an amazing story, and of course you have to have the confidence to advise your clients. You have to say to them, look, I don't think this is the best idea. I think this would be really good. But there will be times where you do have to pitch, you really have to push a story that you're not necessarily 100% behind, and you have to force yourself to become 100% behind it because you're working for a client. So yeah, I think you've got to be creative. I think you've got to be confident. You've got to have attention to detail, and also resilience. I mean, you do just kind of have to keep going.
Yeah, there's so many good ones in there, and I think a lot of them also kind of match with problem solving, which is a huge one in almost every job. Just to finish, I wonder if you had any lasting pieces of advice. You've given us loads of great advice today, but maybe one thing that you wish you knew when you were graduating and looking for your career, and something that that our students and graduates watching could benefit from hearing.
Okay. First of all, don't freak out, because like uni is really overwhelming in itself, and the world that you're going to go into after uni, well, unless you choose to stay in education, which is great, do that. I think that's really cool if you want to do that. But if you're going into a working environment, don't freak out. Like, it will be completely overwhelming. You will have like a crazy sense of imposter syndrome. You will feel like you don't deserve to be there, but like keep going. Like, everyone feels like that. Even when you're 50 and you get a new job, you feel like that. So confidence, be confident and believe in yourself. However like cringe that sounds, you do just have to like have a lot of self-confidence, because when you go into work, like, you do have to fight for yourself, and you do have to remind yourself, no, I deserve to be here. So yeah, I think don't freak out, be confident, and just if you can, just do something that you enjoy. It's totally okay if you get a job and you don't enjoy it. Just apply for another job. Like, work hard, apply for another job, try the other job. If you don't like it, try another one. I mean, obviously you need to stick at it for a bit, but it's the first job you get out of uni, like 90% of the time, will not be the one that you remain in. I mean, don't quote me on that, I don't understand, but like it probably won't be the job that you're in for the rest of your life. So don't worry. I feel like coming out of uni is the time to like experiment and to try new paths that you don't necessarily think of straight away. So yeah, just try different jobs and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, completely. And so much of that is just related to confidence in general, like having the confidence to
Exactly.
not go for a job, or having the confidence to leave a job. And confidence is something you work on, you know, your whole life throughout your career journey. So it's good to keep it in mind that, you know, you'll need that skill forever. Okay, cool. I think that's where we're going to leave it today. So thank you so much,
Cool.
Morgan, for joining us and sharing your story with us. Thank you to
Thank
all the students
you.
and grads watching. Don't forget to follow Job Teaser on Twitter at Job Teaser UK, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Job Teaser UK. The upcoming Meet the Graduate sessions will be in the events tab on your platform, and also in your shoot newsletter. So keep an eye out for some more great information like we've had today. So thanks again, Morgan, and I'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.